We are live. I think I start every episode with, and we are live. That would be a good soundbite. So we are doing episode 82 today of the Gretsch Afternoon Drum Break, all the way from Aurelia, Ontario. Is where I am, and spring has sprung, even though it's not particularly warm. At least it's green. And I had Dave Anania on this live stream series a couple of times. You are the most returned guest. I think this is number three, lucky three. The first one we chatted in 2020. You were still living in Berlin. And I think, were you still doing Blue Man Group? You might have been doing, yes, doing Blue Man Group. And then we later did, I think in 2021, had a Gretsch endorser artist roundtable with several other artists that I'd had on previous, and Dave joined us on that, and it was fabulous. The reason that we are having Dave back today for round three is that so much has changed in his life in the last 4 years, 5 years. It's unbelievable. Dave went from living in Berlin, Germany, to moving back to the United States, to working for GEWA Music, I believe originally working with the electronic drum kits that they manufacture, and then now is also the North American, what do we call this here? North American Artist Relations Manager. Here we go. Now, not only does he work in the business, this guy is a monster drummer, ridiculous drummer, and as well as composer, music composer. I encourage you to check out Dave on all platforms, listen to his music. But today, we are going to chat about the last 4 years since we have seen Dave Anania. So everyone, please welcome my guest for episode 82, Dave Anania. Thank you, sir.
Neil, it is a pleasure, man. I'm always honored to spend time with you on this show, and it's to be back here for like a third time. It's like I'm very happy that you keep receiving the deposits from my bank account.
Hey, American money talks here, pal.
But really, it's a pleasure. It's great to see you again, and hi everyone out there who's decided to turn in today. It's
well, thanks for making time. I swear, when I see how much you have traveled over the last few years, I'm wondering, like, how are you not just totally exhausted all the time? You fly more than anybody that I know. Hi, Jake. We have one of my young drum students. Jake says, hi, Dave. Hi, Neil. Jake's
hey,
great young drummer from way north of here. So, man, fill us in what has been going on since we last chatted. So I think you were in Berlin and you were going to make the move back home to the U.S.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think the last time when we had the roundtable, I believe that was still during the COVID break, correct?
Yes, sir.
And so at that time, I'll do this as quickly as possible. And I had been working with GEWA Music based in Germany for, by that point, almost a decade, because I was endorsing their Drumcraft drums. That was my first endorsement back starting around 2010. And they are also the European distributor for Paiste cymbals and Remo. So I'm a Paiste artist and a Remo as well. So I was working with them off and on, like doing videos for them. And then in 2015, Nico Neverman, the artist relations director over in Europe, offered me the lifetime dream fulfilled honor of becoming a Gretsch artist. And so that really kind of brought things a bit more together with my relationship with GEWA, doing videos for them. And during the pandemic, when regulations started to lighten up a bit, they had invited me down to do videos for their newest drum set, their digital drums, the G5 model. And that was like June of 2020. And at that time, Nico had asked me a couple of times, how do you feel about being in Europe and still being in Berlin? And is Blue Man Group going to continue? And at that time, I'd been doing a lot of thinking, and I realized that if Blue Man Group would close in Berlin, that is as wonderful of an experience as it was to live overseas for, by that time, about 16, 17 years. I knew if the show closed that I really felt like home was back here. And you know, the universe works in mysterious and wonderful ways. And, you know, once I made that known, Nico suggested that I go talk to Marcel Messner, who was the CEO of GEWA Germany. And they had a position opened that they wanted to have filled with, you know, by an American, like a native English speaker, and also, obviously, you know, being a drummer would be a plus, but also having a connection with Germany and being able to speak German to interact with, you know, GEWA Germany. And it was for the sales and marketing specialist position to help introduce the GEWA digital drums to the American market. And they had premiered at the 2020 NAMM show, but then COVID happened within 2 months, and so there was no traction by that point. But I, you know, I really enjoyed the drums. I really believed in them. They felt great to play, and it was like a perfect opportunity for me to relocate and to actually, you know, head back across the Atlantic. And so I accepted the job and had a couple of months left with Blue Man Group because we did reopen, and, you know, played through the end of the year of 2021 and got on a plane on January 25th and head back west. And so, yeah, I spent the first 2 years basically traversing the United States and Canada, with the digital drums in mind as like the priority as far as, like, you know, bring them to the market. And fast forward to January of 2024, and another, like, and, you know, my word meant nothing to them, and I know this, but you know, as soon as it became like a potential, like they were thinking about what ended up being GEWA Music, um, adopting the licensing and the manufacturing and distribution for Gretsch drums, I was like, you have to do that. You really, you know, I know my word means nothing to you, Mr. CEO, but please, you know, this would be, because I was like, it would be a dream come true to be able to represent Gretsch over here as well. And so, you know, my sales position broadened greatly, and it became much more intense, a lot of traveling. But it was the digital drums and a company called Schlagwerk Percussion, also based in Germany, doing like cajones and handpans and like wellness instruments. And it was also like Gretsch drums. And so it was a year of traveling with my director, Terry Bissett, who has been around for decades, and he's an incredible, well, he's an incredible drummer, but also he's a legend in the business. Visiting drum shops all over the United States and Canada, getting to like check out Gretsch drums all over the place, and it was awesome. But as you mentioned, it was exhausting.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was just something where it was like I was grateful to have the job. You know, it's a kind of it was an uneasy economic climate, and, you know, it was like it allowed me to move back to the United States with a job and income, and I could also play a little bit. But I was traveling so much that it wasn't always easy for me to be able to commit to gigs because I did not want to be in the position where I'd have to cancel due to like a last minute travel plan change or something. So it wasn't as much playing as I would have liked. But as I mentioned, the universe is magical sometimes. And right around Thanksgiving of last year, I got a phone call from brand manager and artist relations manager, Andrew Shreve, who became a friend of mine and a colleague after being like someone who I always just admired from a distance as an artist. And, you know, he's a legend in the business.
Yeah.
And called me on Thanksgiving weekend. I'm like, why is he calling? It's like Thanksgiving weekend. It's like, I want, you know, 4 days off. Like, give me 4 days off. And he's like, yeah, just give me a call when you get a chance. And so I called him back, and he was taking on a much heavier role as brand manager, and what ended up becoming included in that role for him. And I'd be hard pressed to say that he really wanted to give up the artist relations position, because it's a really fun, cool gig to have. But he was just like, he didn't have the bandwidth anymore, and he thought that I would be a great potential replacement for him. And it blew my mind, first of all, because for me, that's like that's being entrusted with the artist roster, and all of you that are on this roster, and like they're all world-class players. Some of them are absolute like bona fide legends, you know, and to be asked to be responsible for their happiness. So your happiness, Neil, it's my job. Was mind blowing, and it's a huge honor, to say the least. And so that's where things are at right now, and it's, you know, starting to kind of really settle into it. It's, you know, the transition was just weird. I mean, I knew how to do a lot of the tasks on the business side that carry over into this job,
Right.
placing orders and, you know, making sure that, you know, logistics and all of that. And but it was also like it's definitely a much different position as far as like interaction with the artists on a different level, of course. And then, you know, it's, you know, getting to, you know, I haven't had to do this yet, but, you know, attending photo shoots or video shoots for new products, or going to shows of artists when they come through town, and, you know, going to the drum shows like PASIC or, you know, NAM, or coming up, we've got the Chicago Drum Show next month, and the Music City Drum Show in Nashville in July. And it's like, it's a blast so far, and I'm really, really fortunate. I'm la fortunate. Oh, that was horrible.
Man, I tell you, I think they made the right choice with you, because it was actually, the stars kind of aligned, right? I mean, like, you were in the right place at the right time a couple of times, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember just getting to know you a little bit when you were on this live stream back in 2020. And I'm like, man, this is like the nicest dude, like the nicest guy. And you sent me some music, and then some, I've seen videos of you playing, and I'm like, so you're not a jerk, and you play like crazy. And that must be a trip though, like phoning Vinny or Steve Ferroni. Hello, is Steve there? You know, I was like that, phoning Steve Ferroni to come on to this, and man, they're just people, right?
Well,
But
yeah, they are, and that's how they think of themselves too.
right,
You know, and they obviously know, and for lack of a better phrase, they obviously know their worth as a musician and their accomplishment, their career, and it's a big deal. But they're also like, you know, I'm having like conversations, like, you know, friendly conversations. It's not always just about like the orders, like what drums do you need and by when and where, and, you know, it's also like we're on, it's on a personal level to some
yeah,
extent.
yeah, you become friends,
Just
right?
the tip of the iceberg as far as like who I've been in contact with, but it's just been a blast. And you know, also there's less travel with the job, which means that I'm very safe in taking more gigs while I'm home. And, you know, the Minneapolis music scene is still as strong as ever. And so I'm lucky to kind of slide in and, you know, try to reacclimate and be able to take part in all the great stuff that's going on here in this.
Yeah, how was that kind of getting back into having, you're from there, you moved from there to Berlin, correct?
Yeah,
And back there. So how did that work for you to kind of integrate yourself back into the music scene in Minneapolis?
I think, like, to be really honest, like Facebook and, well, the social media in general, like, allows us to be in contact with people on a, you know, multiple times on a daily basis if we so choose, right? And
Yeah,
then, you know,
feel that.
if there if yeah, and if there was one, if there was something that occurred during the pandemic, it brought people together via the internet, and especially with musicians, like forming, like, you know, video collage videos where you're, you know, playing along with each other, sending tracks to each other. And so during COVID, I actually started a Prague tribute group called Those Medley Kids. And it, you know, it
Yeah.
started out, the last time we met, it was my living room in Germany, and it's not a big living room at all. And so I had, like, you know, and it's an apartment complex, neighbors, and like, so I was like, pick, snare, hat, like ride cymbal with a towel on it, you know, but like playing like Genesis and Yes and Rush, and it was awesome. And but half of that band was based here, so I had already started kind of mingling a little bit with people who were really dialed into the music scene here. And so, because a generation has passed since I used to live here and work here all the time, and then way back in the 90s. But so I managed to stay in touch with people via Facebook and Instagram. And as soon as they knew I was back in town, I definitely, it was like I had to remind people that I was here. And, but I've been lucky that the folks who've, had a spot for me to jump in here and there. And it's just been, the gigs have been just really, really fun. Like, while I never would ever claim to be capable, like this, they're doing the besides the Prague thing, which are just legendary drummers on the original cut of that. It's like Steely Dan, which is a Steely Dan tribute band. It's Porcaro, Murata, Purdy, Gordon, all those guys.
Great.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's like the really fun gigs that I get to do, and so far I have not been kicked off one of them yet.
Oh man, I bet you. Are you kidding me? Oh man.
So far, so good.
Another thing about you too is that you're like so humble. Like I know lots of drummers that are anywhere near as accomplished as you are, and they've got giant egos. So, but man, that would be so fun playing. I'd love to play. Paul DeLong plays in a Steely Dan tribute up in Toronto. Of course he does, right? And I think Charlie Cooley has subbed in on it as well. When Paul is not able to do it. But what fun. Those are like some of the greatest drummers and recordings of all time, Anyway, and it's hard for me to hear that called yacht rock.
Yeah, no, it's hard for Donald Fagen to hear that called.
I heard that too. Yeah.
Any of you seen the?
Yes.
Seen the documentary?
I haven't seen the documentary. I absolutely want to watch that. But I wanted to kind of go back a little bit because sometimes there's a confusion as to the ownership of Gretsch versus, back when DW apparently, and people on the internet would run rampant with, they own Gretsch and they don't. Can you explain that? And now, can you explain that as well as touch on who GEWA Music is and what kind of family business that is?
Okay, so that's you've actually really sowed the seeds for a perfect description from my side. So GEWA Music started. It is literally celebrating its centennial this year, 100 years old this year. So they started in 1925 in southeastern Germany, and they were a music instrument building company. They were building like orchestral string instruments, then they were building cases and drums, guitars. So it was and still is a music instrument company base. And for the last 30 years or so, the CEO is Hans-Peter Messner, and his son Marcel is taking over as Hans-Peter moves into retirement. Both amazing businessmen, but also have a deep love and respect for music and musicians. And what I love about them now, okay, so what is the situation with Gretsch is that Fred and Donna Gretsch own Gretsch. That never changed, even throughout, since Fred got it back, a few decades ago. Like, it has always been Fred and Donna Gretsch. And so whenever AMC or DW, Fender, DW, or, well, at the very most recently before GEWA, Roland, they never owned Gretsch. They owned the licensing, the manufacturing, and distribution. So, and that's why that's why Ridgeland stayed Ridgeland, and Paul Cooper and Josh Schaefer and Barbara and Tammy and Tanya and the whole crew and Lee and Robert, that is not changing. And that hasn't changed because that's Gretsch. That's the great Gretsch. That Gretsch son is those people. And so GEWA has never, it was never even a question or interesting to want to uproot any of that. So but just so that everybody out there knows, that is the relationship with GEWA. Like GEWA is in charge of, you know, quality. It's in charge of, like, I mean, it's a bit more involved now, I think, than DW was, just because like DW did amazing things for Gretsch
Mhm.
when they were in the position GEWA is now. But DW was also a drum company. So
Sure.
as
Sure.
much as they were really responsible for doing some great things over the years that they had the licensing contract, GEWA doesn't have any competing acoustic drums. So it's like the focus of GEWA music is Gretsch. You know what I mean? I think that's really special, especially because the alternative would be, like, at least at this, you know, if nothing had happened, Roland, which is a non-acoustic company.
Right.
It's all electronics, whether it's keyboards, amps, you know, drums, whatever it is. It's like, so it just kind of, I, I hope people would understand that it's definitely for the best that GEWA music took over the
Hmm.
that DW and then most recently Roland used to have. I think, you know, it's beneficial for everyone.
When I was with Fred and Dinah back in late January, early February, we had dinner a couple of nights, and I asked them about that, you know, and they were, one of the things that they commented on was that it was a family business, gave us a family business, and that they were interested in continuing that great Gretsch legacy as we know it, and moving forward by, you know, with some new things that are probably to be announced at some point with the factory, etc., and things I'm not going to mention here. But they were very, very glad that they partnered with them. So, and that put me at ease because, you know, as an artist, we were a little nervous. I think so. DW was involved with Gretsch, and I don't think I was even a Gretsch artist at that point. But we were kind of worried that, man, are they going to change the lugs? Are they going to take the silver sealer out? Of course, they weren't going to do any of that stuff. But strange things have happened. But we're
Well,
super happy with where we're at now, and that's moving
well,
forward.
well, good. And yeah, and that, you know, that's the thing, like GEWA being the European distributor for Gretsch, you know, they had
Mhm.
a relationship that was based on like great communication, and it was extremely beneficial for both companies, and that's been going on now for a solid 10 years. So when the opportunity came up, and it's, you know, it is, GEWA has been, like I said, for the last 2 or 3 decades, it's been a family run business. And so, you know, from family to family, it's like it just made sense. And it also makes complete sense that people were on it, because nobody in America really knows GEWA at all. Like, they, you know, Roland might be an electronic drum, you know, instrument company, but everybody knows the name.
Right.
So there's at least there's a history that people can relate to, no matter what. And obviously DW and Fender before that too. So I completely get the concern, and you know, we had to kind of maneuver with that, you know, about a, you know, year and a half ago. Um, but hopefully, you know, the actions will speak for themselves. And I think so far everything's, you know, it's going pretty
I think so. We
well.
have Billy Drummond tuning in here. Gretsch
Billy,
since 1978. Hi, Billy. How
whew,
are you? Great.
legendary.
Legendary and the nicest guy. He was on the show a few years ago, and man, what a sweetheart. When I go to New York next, I've got to go and make a trip and go see some of these cats play. The last time I was there, 2023 was the 140th at the Cutting Room, and that was just, it was crazy. My head was spinning from the entire event. People that I'd seen, you know, I'd never met Andrew in person, and it was the first time meeting Fred and Dinah as well, which is and being in New York, and I'd never been to New York for any length of time. Drove through it on the way to Long Island, but hi Billy, thanks for tuning in, and I love seeing the videos that he puts up, and he's a pretty good drummer.
Yeah, yeah, all right, man.
Yeah, he's okay.
He's
That's,
on his way.
let's chat about the drums that are sitting behind you. Can you fill us in and maybe give some of the folks at home a little background on the different lines of Gretsch drums. People that may not know, are new to the brand, may know the name, but they don't know the different series of Gretsch drums.
Sure, sure. I mean, I won't go into like too much detail, but just some in general. But so this beautiful beast behind me, I say beautiful because it's this gorgeous blue burst finish. So that is the Gretsch Brooklyn series. So Gretsch has what we call the full range series, which are imports. And then the lines for those, it's the Renegade, the Energy, and then Catalina Club, Catalina Maple, and Renown. And then we've got the USA series, which is the Brooklyn, and the Broadcaster, and the USA Custom. And so the difference, like basically, at least just do the USA series. So the USA Custom is a 6-ply maple gum, and the Broadcaster is 3-ply, same, and then the Brooklyn is 6-ply maple poplar. And so they're I've got a maple custom, which was the mothership is what I called it, because I kind of all. And this one's like the step mothership, I guess. I don't know. It's but it's I just fell in love with. I mean, I fell in love with Gretsch when I was 9 years old, and saw, I was a huge Genesis fan, and saw the Phil Collins ad in the back of Modern Drummer with his white concert tom kit and the black the ebony head with the white logo, and I was like, Gretsch. And that was kind of it. But so, fast forward, and this is, I just got this a couple of months ago, and I was still doing a lot of traveling at the time, so I'm finally able to come down here and like just kind of work with like tuning, setting them up, and the whole thing. And they're gorgeous, and I've got like you can see the Technicolor miking situation happening behind me. I was told that I need to get all black cables. They don't want to post my video. No, I'm kidding.
But that's hilarious.
I'm just kidding, Nico. Anyway, but so it's great, and I've been able to kind of work recently with like trying to get some recording done, and see how they sound when they record. And my room isn't a professional studio. It's not. I mean, you have some.
No, not really. Looks like it.
Well, but you've treated it. You've got acoustic top and everything, so it's definitely I just have like slapback, slapback and overtones.
That's the name of the
going for.
Oh, that's a duo. Slapback and overtones.
Slapback and overtones. But they sound amazing, even without the room being treated. And I sent some tracks off to a dear friend of mine, who's a great engineer named Tony Axtell, and he's like, man, we'll work with some mic placement and stuff, but these drums sound amazing. And that's I've taken every gig I play on, the front of house guy comes up to me, and mostly now I'm using the USA Customs. Actually, I've never taken these on a gig, and this is the Porsche that's going to stay in the garage. That's too, I can't like but the USA Customs have just like sound man after sound, they've just come up to me and it's like, it sound amazing. And that's
the difference in the sound between the Brooklyns and the USAs. And the Brooklyns have a different hoop, correct, as well as a different shell. So how do they sound different for people who don't know?
For me, like the biggest difference sonically out of the three is the Brooklyn to the USA. And for me, it's like, it's not, it's kind of nitpicky in a way, because it's like if anything, like for me, the Brooklyns are slightly shorter in slightly. And I also, like with the USA Customs, I've got the GTS rims mounts on it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I decided to go direct to shell with these. Partially just I just wanted that. I felt like the difference in sound, I wanted them to be a bit more controlled in here because I'm miking them, recording them. But the combination of the Brooklyn shells themselves, but also going direct to shell, is a little, it takes just a little bit of the rest, but it's really, to be really honest, it's not like hugely it's not remarkable, the difference in decay and tone. But that's why I made the choices with this kit. And also for sound folks that use clip-on mics, the
Oh yeah.
GTS mounts are cool, but they're just the same kind of the same width all the way around, and you can't really clip mics to them. So
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to make it easier for me, I guess, because those are my mics. But yeah, and also with my USA Customs, I did the old Gergo Borlai treatment where I took the GTS mounts and put them on the bottom hoops. So then the top rims are they're all there, and it actually works fine. So
My buddy years ago, I mean, I'm talking 1990, had a USA Custom in 10, 12, 14, 20. He had the rims on the bottom. He wanted to sell them. It was probably $1,500 then. And I said, no, because he had the rims on the bottom. And I'm like, oh, that's got to be very stressing on those lugs. What did I know? Why? And of course, years later, he owned a drum shop I taught at, and oh man, he ribbed me for a decade at least. He probably still would punch me in the head saying, very foolish. But right. And so these guys have the rims mounts, but my broadcaster does not. And I remember taking them out and hearing them and went, they really don't ring a whole lot. And so the front of house, we have a great front of house guy that sometimes travels with us. And I go, how are the toms, Paul? He goes, they're amazing. I'm like, they are? He goes, buddy, they're like amazing. And you tune them great. So I was really relieved because I was used to, you've got to have suspension mounts, and which is not true all the time,
It's not true. And what's really interesting, I think, for us as drummers, is sitting behind the kit playing it can sound like ridiculously different than what it sounds like listening to it from out front.
It does.
And I've had that experience where I'm just kind of like, oh man, it's not happening. And then, no, they sound great. I'm like, how? And it's not that the drums don't sound great, but I just feel like maybe they're like choked a little bit or something, and I'm trying to like fine tune a little bit. They're like out front, they're like, especially maybe that's part of the reason. If the tone is a little shorter, if a sound sound great, it allows them to isolate a bit more, and to not so much over over into the other drums and stuff. But it's just interesting, like just the things that especially when I was younger, I didn't know about mounting systems, and I was told to try to allow the drums to have as much resonance as possible, which is like keeping them as far away from the base of the stands, like the joints of the stands on like the L arm.
Right.
So I still do that. I want them to be as far away from the base of the stands, whether it be just like where the tom mounts are, or even more. But it's like it's never 100% the same. You're always going to be flexible, and just in Gretsch drums make that very easy. They just really make everybody happy.
100%. They are so very versatile. Yeah, and so you've got a USA kit, Mothership, and then Blutiful here.
Yep.
What are the sizes of Blutiful?
So I went with the 7 by 10, 8 by 12, 9 by 13, and then 14, 14, 16, 16. And 16, 20. I'm a 20-inch kick guy unless I'm playing.
That's a 20?
Yeah.
Come on, a 20 by 16?
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is for me, like with Blue Man Group, we always had 22-inch kicks, and so I can 22-inch kicks are cool. Maybe at some point I'll get one, but if I go any bigger than that, I feel like I don't have the control over the tone and the beater and the whole. If it gets bigger than that, so for me, it's like I'm always doing a 20-inch kick, unless my next kit. when it comes time for that, I'm gonna go broadcaster bop. I want to
cool.
I want to complete the trilogy, and I'm gonna when I turn heads with a little 4-piece broadcast, 18-inch, 12, maybe a snare. So we'll see. But yeah, and actually the USA customs are pretty much the same, except I've got I believe it's a 5.5 by 8.
Oh,
So
okay.
but the rest of the kits are actually identical, which I went back and forth about that. And I was like, nah, you know what? I love how the toms are. Like, I love the range that I have with the USA kit. And so I think, for the Brooklyn kit, I wanted to match. And
Yeah,
if the spirit moves me, I can add on.
for sure. Oh, baby. Anything new coming down the pike this, are we kind of in the middle of the
Uh-oh.
things for next year, like new models, new colors, new anything? Is there anything that you
Well,
can share with us? If not, that's
yeah, I mean, it's kind of already it's already public knowledge because we did show most of what we have happening this year at the NAMM show. But for
Mhm.
those that weren't there, there are some amazing full range snares coming out. Like, maple stave, mahogany. There's a whole series of birch snares that are just gorgeous. Like a
Wow.
10-inch popcorn. Um, so yeah, we got full range snares coming out. Really nice new wrap finishes and other like actual lacquer finishes for the Catalina. Uh,
Really?
yep, and I think probably by midsummer, hopefully. I mean, we have to see because there are a lot of variables at play right now as far as products getting to country. So, but we premiered 2 lines of new hardware
Yes.
that are amazing, and
I'm
they're
excited for that.
yep. I'm super excited for because it's right now I'm using Gibraltar for these, and they're great.
Same.
I want to go 100%. I want it all in. I want all Gretsch. And so as soon as those are available, I'm definitely going to get in line for some of
I
those.
would like to try that as well.
Yeah. So that's what's happening, and that's what's happening this year. I believe. I mean, the snares I believe are already in stock and are available probably as of May. Pretty sure. And like I said, I can't speak about the 2 lines of hardware because they due to shipping situations, like I
Mhm.
don't know if they're actually able to get them yet. So
Okay.
it's a bit touchy right there. But that's what we have, and like those snare drums, we before I you know before I transitioned over into the artist relations position. My last sales related trip, it was in December. We went to the Drum Center of Portsmouth and the drum shop of Maine up in Portland, Maine. And both staff at both the staffs at both stores were just blown away by these snare drums, especially. Um, we
Really?
sold one to a customer in the store without having it available. You know what I mean? So he was like, there's a customer that was in the store checking out cymbals while we were demoing the drums and everything. And we already had sold one of the snares. So it's like that's what people can expect. They're stunning. And I can't wait until I can get my hands on them. I definitely want to get like the smallest. I love side snares, and
Yeah.
the one that I have is I got it. It's a part of the USA custom kit. It's a 7 by 18. So
Wow.
it can be deep. I mean, you can crank it, but like I want that guy. I want the little gunshot that I can put on a cymbal stand or something like that. So, but
Wow.
the range of snares are really impressive and they sound amazing. So that we can definitely that's what's happening at the moment.
So what color are those birch snares going to
Very
be?
light, like a blonde.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and
I like blondes.
yeah, blondes have more drum.
Oh
Yeah,
my, I gotta get that a
what
shirt for my wife.
you should you should. And yeah, I'm sorry everyone out there. I pun and they're bad. They're really
Oh no, I'm a dad and a grandpa, so we've got drumpa, so I've got lots of those.
yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't wait to see those. So that should be sometime in the summer.
For sure. Like, I mean, the projected availability would be like basically right around now. So
Oh,
keep you know
oh.
we'll talk. We'll talk.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
So this is are these all offshore drums or
Yeah.
these ridge drums? Okay, offshore. You know what? And it's funny because I have in here a couple of the offshore drums, and sometimes they are total sleepers. And I brought them out to gigs, and I played one against a high-end custom builder $1,500 snare drum, and the front of house man person said, "No, that blue one you have there blows that one away." And it was a Renown snare drum from the 57 kit I used to have. And it was true. I was so sad because I wanted this drum to be so good. But but seriously, I've had some ridiculous Renown snare drums. I've got a full range 13 by 4 that I bought. It's a cool little drum when yeah, so it's a come on area drum, I believe. So
Okay. Yeah.
something like that. Really neat. So Joe Matzo was working for them at that point. You know Joe?
I'd never met Joe. Not
Me
yet.
neither, but we're
Yeah.
Facebook.
Oh, no.
He knew about it. I messaged him. He goes, "Oh yeah, I was involved in the development of that." Of course you were. Yeah. So he goes, "Yeah, it's a killer drum. Get it. It's $200 Canadian used." So
And
it's like,
that's the thing. Like, these drums are really inexpensive for how good they are.
and a deadly drum is the Schulman, the 6x13 Schulman drum, the Mark Schulman drum. That's an offshore drum too, and that drum is stupid good.
Yeah. Yeah. So keep an eye out. I mean, for those playing along at home, these drums are amazing and really, really inexpensive, and but not inexpensively made. Like, they're world class. And I the Kurt Pescara he just ordered a by 14 and fell in love with it. So it's yeah, they're like you said, they can be sleepers, but they're so worth it. I've definitely
Yeah.
mid-year.
Sometimes they don't get any credibility, if they're not USA made. I'm telling you. But I love Kurt Pescara. Would love to have him on this show. It'd be such a trip. So Kevin Hernandez is tuning in. He says he is looking forward to those snare drums.
Oh, cool. Hey, Kevin.
We're excited. Who is that?
Kevin's a great drummer, man. He's Kevin, you're gonna have to type in who you're playing with right now, but he's been posting some really great stuff. Solid.
Rolling Stones. No. AC. No. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
We're excited for that for sure. Can you give us a little bit of oh, here he is. He goes, "What's up, Dave?" I don't know if can you see comments, Dave, or no?
I can't, but I'm, also...
This is a YouTube comment.
Okay, yeah. No, I can't.
Nice to meet you, Kevin. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate that you're here for Dave, of course. We're all here for Dave. And yeah, we just like to know who you're playing with these days, and we can have a look and check you out online. And man, what is the day-to-day? What is the role that you do? You get up in the morning and what's the first thing work-wise that you do as North American artist relations manager? Hey Dan, nice to see you.
I read emails. That's what I do.
That's why I text you.
It pretty much, but it's exactly what I do. Like, the first thing I do, I will double check. Like, usually, at the end of the day, before I'll just see, what tasks might not have been completed, if any, and then I'll, make sure that they're transferred to like what I need to do the next day. And so I will go, check unread emails first and see, because it's like, if orders come through and all of a sudden it's like, I need backline for tomorrow night for Jimmy Kimmel, then it's like, that's, you got to get on these right away that everybody's taken care of. So I will check emails, and then during the day, it's like, it's basically, I mean, it is an office job. Like I will get emails, from artists during the day of their upcoming tours, and they need to place an order for either their main kit or their B rig, or if they're, like I said, they're playing some TV, like doing TV spots or something, and they need backline. We organize the backline, at least the drums part of it for them. Meetings happen depending on the day of the week. Like usually, like Wednesdays are my meetings day for the most part. So, we've got meetings with the U.S. sales team, which also includes another. Actually, everybody on our sales is like also like amazing drummer. They're all just solid, and including Andrew. Andrew's like a
Oh
great.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and and one of them who we I think you mentioned that you're going to hopefully get him on the show at some point too, is Nick DiVirgilio. So,
Soon.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so I've got meetings with those guys during the day,
Wicked.
and sometimes I have Zoom calls with either current artists that need to talk about some logistics or something, or we get a lot of applications, through their website. And so we have to go through the applications and see what we can do as far as like, hey, what, this let's see if they can, let's maybe see if we can spend a little time with them, and we'll set up a Zoom call. Like Nico Neverman is the artist relations director for Europe. I think I mentioned that already, but so Nico and I, we're a team. So we do a meeting once every 2 weeks. Andrew drops in when he can. And so we'll discuss like the applicants that we've received, and see about like maybe getting some Zoom time in with some of the guys who are, we might be able to see some potential future collab with
Mm.
one level or another. Might not always be an endorsement, but something where you can tell they love Gretsch drum, and they are ambassadors of the brand. And they are using them all the time, and they're amazing musicians. It's like we try to accommodate as much as we can, but we also have to be very selective, because Gretsch is Gretsch. It's a legacy brand, and it's an amazing group of folks that are, that's basically, that's the gist of it. And then like a few weeks ago, we had Mark Juliana in town, who played, he's on a tour right now, promoting his record, which is him. It's all him. And so he's in town. So I went to his show. So it's like sometimes it's going to shows. Sometimes if I can't, Post Malone. The drummer for Post Malone is Phil Lawson. He's a Gretsch artist, and they're coming through town in like a couple of weeks. And so it's like yeah, I don't know if I can pick this. I'm like, that's all right. Let's go out to we'll go out to lunch or something. So it's like it's a fun gig. Really, I get to hang out with great drummers like from all over the world, and so it's it's kind of a mixed bag, but it usually revolves around my inbox for a while.
Yeah, for sure. It is a real brotherhood. This whole drummer thing too, and other instrumentalists always, especially guitar players, remark that is lacking with with them.
Yeah.
They have that brotherhood that we do. Maybe bass players a little bit, but sometimes my brother, I think, said that we're kind of like the hockey goalies of the team. I'm like, yeah, in a way, right?
Yeah,
But
true. It's true.
and I've been able to meet certain Gretsch artists when they come to town. Got to hang with Ash Sohn, and got to see Chad Gamble. Didn't meet Cindy Blackman, but went and saw Santana, Earth, Wind and Fire, and but did hang with Victor Andrizzo.
Oh, he's great.
Oh man, I love that guy. He came out before the show, and after the show, we went backstage and met Matt Starr, that's playing with Sarah McLachlan. He's a Canadian guy.
Oh, okay.
That's playing. They were sitting right in front of. So it's really lovely, and you stay connected through social media, as you said, which is awesome. Billy Drummond commented here saying, "My student at Juilliard loves his renowned set. He brought them to his lesson on Monday. Haha. He brought them to his lesson. That's great. Everyone loves the 3 USA kits at Juilliard as well. I guess so, right?
Oh, that's cool. Well, that great Gretsch sound is it's it doesn't matter if it's full range or if it's USA. It's still part of the equation. It's wonderful. I'm glad, Billy. That's great. Very cool.
They had a great renowned kit at the Gretsch School of Music when I was there in January doing a little workshop, and a beautiful little 10, 12, 14, 20, and a matching snare. Man, was it a matching? I think it might have been, but just a deadly little drum kit. Oh, this should be fine. Yep, they were sure fine. I didn't really need to do much, you know. Is there a line of Gretsch drums that sells better than anything that you know, or any just outsells?
It's, you know, for me, I'd like to refer you to a sales team. No, you know, it's interesting because like I would say, you know, the Catalina series because it's got a range of Catalina Club and the Catalina Maple. Like it kind of covers all the bases.
Hmm.
Um, so as far as like kind of general sales, I think, you know, sell a lot. One sells pretty well, but from the USA line, like, I mean, if I'm just thinking back from when I was like orders, that's a lot of USA customs,
Yeah,
you know, and they're flagship and they're a pretty penny, but they're pretty. Um,
they
and
are. There's nothing like them. You
yeah,
either you get it or you don't, and if you don't, you're wrong. You know, I'm not even going to go there. But people, I think they something's wrong with their hearing when they don't.
yeah. Well, you know, I will say something is actually wrong with my hearing, and still love the USA customs. But no, I see, you know, and it's true. It's like, yeah, I mean, I think once you get to the USA lines, it's like they all sell pretty well. But I sort of, you know, if I really think back, I'm just kind of like, I wrote a lot of orders for US while I was, you know, having shipping stuff off to retail stores and drug shops in the country. So I'm going to go with that for now.
That's great. What do you look for in artist relations when someone sends you an email or an inquiry? I covered this with Andrew a few years ago, but this is kind of in 2021. I had him on the show. He was said that there was basically a freeze on, you know, signing new artists, and of course that's changed over the last couple of years since we've been back to work. But what do you really look for? Back in the day, it was how many people you're playing for, and maybe that kind of thing. What's the focus now?
Well, so I mean, I will still kind of echo that point where it's not a we're not at a point where we're at a freeze, but we're pretty tight. You know what I mean? It's like that's one thing that like I think, you know, if there are any potential applicants out there, it's like please apply. But also like just realize that, you know, it's a brand that we have to be selective and for, you know, multiple reasons. So it's just it's definitely, please share yourselves with us, and you know, hopefully we can make something happen. What we look for um now, especially in the last, you know, 10 years for sure, a whole like kind of the whole model for what is like exposure has changed from being records and tours to being on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and touring. So it's like the challenge is like we have the potential out there for having, you know, drummers that are just like have astounding social media, which means they are reaching, you know, hundreds of thousands of people with each post, you know, depending on how many followers they have. Uh, we have to pay it because it's important, and it is like the model of presentation is way different than when I started out in the business for you, and we have to honor that. However, like I said, we also we need to honor Gretsch, and so it has to be something that feels like a good fit. And it's like we're also really looking to currently we're looking to broaden the palette of that great Gretsch sound and what fits with that great Gretsch sound. I mean, just to ask people, you're like Gretsch, you're like Max Roach, Art Blakey, you know, Philly Joe Jones, like you just think jazz drums,
Sure.
right? And that's absolutely correct. And it's valid and it's beautiful. And these are legendary drummers and that create what Gretsch is today. And so that we honor that. And it's a combination of looking for that something special that is what Gretsch is. It's something special that makes it what it is. But we also need to, like, we want, like, we had in recent years, it's like Taylor Hawkins, we've got Phil Lawson, we've got Ian Longwell, who's with Beck, and so like we've got, and yeah, it's just Nick Collins, you've got young kids, Izzy Lamberti, she's a great drummer,
Right.
Juliana Morello, she's amazing. She was really heavily into the reggaeton scene for a while and doing her own thing. Fantastic. So it's like,
Victoria Yelich.
yeah, yep, and it's like we look for greatness, but we really look for people who aren't looking for free stuff.
Right. Yeah. People they assume that, oh, you get it for nothing. No, it's got to be a mutually beneficial business.
That's the one thing, folks. It's like, with all due respect, you can be a great drummer, but if it's obvious that Gretsch isn't really the reason you're wanting to apply for Gretsch drums, then we'll know it. We could sniff that out. So, we want people who know, you don't have to, just not going to be a test. We're not going to say if, you have to fill out a test, like, Philly Joe Jones played up, whatever.
They need to call me.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? We need to make sure that it's pure, like the love for the instrument, not just because you get it for cheap free. It's because you love Gretsch. You want to do. So it's a long one, but it's like we are definitely, like, we're expanding. We definitely want to be open to all styles, and but we also need to really stay true to the history legacy of Gretsch. So it's an interesting position to be in, and it's a challenge, and it's really wonderful. It's like you're a great drummer, play every day. I'm very lucky.
Awesome, man. Anthony McKelly is in the house.
Hey.
Hello, sir. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Kevin Hernandez says, I've been to the factory and you can sense the pride and history. Paul and the team are second to none. Worth the investment. Absolutely. That factory is incredible. Man, I've had a tour there. My face hurt because I smiled for 45 minutes. I literally did. So that was such a beautiful place to go. Thanks for that, Kevin. That's awesome. I want to ask you, a couple weeks ago, I think you went back to an alma mater to receive an award, a special award for you. Can you fill us in on that? I want to hear all about that.
Man, it was one of the most I told. Okay, so I'll tell you what. So I was the 2025 inductee into my high school for Oshkosh School in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and it was one of the best days of my life. And it was also, I told the kids, because it was a high school gym full of, the school is about 11. And so it was high school kids, and I had like a front row was, a bunch of my dearest high school could make it, and we're in the house. My sister and her husband there, and it was a full house. I stood up there, and I was fumbling because I was super nervous, and I was super overwhelmed, and hearing the what they were reading off when they were introducing me. It was, I've been super, super lucky. I've been really, really lucky to have carved out a career as a professional musician since I was about 19. And I'm still lucky that I continue to do that. Sometimes my body puts up a fight about it, but I'm trying to deal with that too. So, but the fact that it was something where, out of however many years since I've graduated high school with 1,100 kids per year, that felt that I was, that was at a level worthy of inducting into the Hall of Fame for the high school, was beyond, and it was such an honor. And yeah, I mean, it brought me to tears, and it was wonderful. I created like a little 10-minute playing thing where I did an arrangement of some of the popular tunes for the kids, and then
Oh,
slipped in a little bit of In the Air Tonight, and like kind of part of the Phil Collins Chester Thompson drum duet that I arranged. So I got to play for them, and they loved it, and it was awesome. And I got to hang out with the band classes and the choir class, and I just remember being their age, like standing in the back of the band room, you know, lucky enough that I started drumming and fell in love with drumming when I was young. By the time I was even in high school, I kind of knew that's what to do.
right.
But there were some kids that were on the fence day, loved music, loved drumming, and no matter what instrument. And I'm not saying I did, but if for some reason I could have been the person who like was the aha moment for them that day, then it was, made it all worthwhile. Besides the fact that it was the biggest honor that I received in my life, and it was wonderful, and I got to see friends and hang out, and it was just beautiful. So,
Congratulations! Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I swear.
thank
That
you.
is, I can imagine. I was just kind of living that through you telling that story. I could imagine. I love spending time with high school kids. I've done some private lessons at schools, and it's amazing how receptive and how excited they are about learning and drumming and music and whatnot. And just doing that little presentation at the Gretsch school was scary as anything, let me tell you, because they're a little older than, they're not 12, they're 19, 18, 19, 20, and they can play. So, and plus playing in front of the professors, it was a bit scary, but there's nothing like that school environment where they're still so excited. They haven't been beaten down by life yet. But man, I'm happy for you. That's so great.
Thank you. I'm just beyond fortunate. It was beautiful. Really lucky.
Phenomenal, man. Well, thank you for filling us in today on what you've been doing the last few years. So there's lots of stuff that's happened, lots of good stuff, and I'm really happy for you, man. Happy to call you a friend and a fellow drummer and fellow Gretsch lover. So, man, unfortunately, I missed you here when you were in Toronto, or you're in Toronto, but we got to do something at some point. Who knows? I may end up getting down and playing your way sometime. Well,
Yeah, I saw you were down in Kansas, so you got to put Minneapolis on that itinerary.
yeah, we need to do that, and maybe Indianapolis and all the other Appalachians and stuff like
any of the Appalachians. No, and then come. You should get down to like one of the basic or the Nashville.
Yeah. I'll do pace. Oh, that might be tough. Our fall season is a crazy tour time, but we'll see. Dave Stark and I have been chatting. I'm sure you know who Dave is.
He's
right. So
brilliant.
I love Dave. He's a great dude. So, but we'll definitely connect at some point in person. I had no idea that was a 20-inch kick. Now I'm like freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is my broadcaster, and I love it.
I love it.
Thank you, Dave. Everybody. Thank you for tuning in for episode 82 with my friend Dave Anania. Thanks, everyone, and we will see you next time. Okay. Take care, everybody. See you later.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everybody. Take care.